Hey everybody, got another knife review for you today. Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the newest additions to the Spyderco lineup, the little buddy, the Spyderco Squeak. This one I've had in my collection for about the past month and a half. As soon as I had heard about it just before it came out and took the chance to look it up and just see what it was all about, I knew I immediately had to have it. So I went ahead and placed my order with White Mountain Knives, and they sent one to me as soon as they got one in. So here's my review. The Spyderco Squeak, as you can probably tell, is definitely on the small side. This is, I mean, the name really says it all. Spyderco Squeak, this is the little pipsqueak in the lineup of Spyderco knives. Really small. But before we get too much into that, let's go ahead and jump right into the specifications first. Close length comes in at 3 1/8 inches. Blade length comes in at 2 inches. Overall length, 5 1/32 of an inch. Weight comes in at a paltry 1.6 ounces. The blade thickness on this little guy is 1/8 inch, which I would say is pretty thick, for such a small, diminutive knife. Blade steel is a newer steel that Spyderco is using. It's called N690CO. It is an Austrian steel, and according to my very good buddy ST Schmalhaus, Stefan, here on YouTube, it is basically the Austrian equivalent of VG10. I'm sure a lot of you familiar with Spyderco have heard of that one. It's one of their best steels that they make, at least in my opinion. Really good at edge retention, really solid steel. The blade shape is kind of like a squashed leaf. It's kind of like a chubby, kind of smushed down leaf. You also get a full flat grind on this with a very generous spider hole that's got the 1/2 inch spider hole. So deployment on this guy is really easy to get your thumb in there and get that sucker open. Handle material on this guy is an FRN. It is checkered, much like the Spyderco UK-PK, but definitely not as grippy. But in my opinion, on a knife this small, that's not really that huge of a deal. I would call it comfortably smooth. Feels really great in the hand. This is one of Spyderco's slip-it knives. That is what they call their slip joint line of knives, along with knives like the Urban and the UK-PK. So this does not actually have a locking mechanism per se. It is basically just like your standard kind of case knife for hen and rooster. It does not actually lock open, but much like the Urban and the UK-PK, it does feature a half stop where it stops right there, and then you can close it. On top of that, if you are holding this in what I believe to be the intended way that it needs to be held, with your finger resting in this finger choil, you're not going to close it on your hand because your first finger is just stopping the knife right there. So if you're holding it the way that you should be holding it, I really don't think that this presents any type of safety issue, much the way that I feel that the UK-PK does not present any issue on that level at all. Blade centering on this guy, don't know what else to call that other than dead center. Excellent tolerances on this. The lockup, well, it doesn't really have a lockup, so I can't really talk about up and down on that. But side to side, just a teeny weeny hint of side to side play, but definitely within acceptable tolerances. The pocket clip on this guy is the spider wire, at least that's what I call it, the spider wire clip, which features right or left hand tip up. Jimping on this one, it actually does feature it above and below. You've got it right there on the bottom in the finger choil, and you've got it right up on the top with a nice elevated thumb ramp, which, because this knife is so small, I'm going to say that the jimping is definitely a good idea, so that you can get a nice positive bite on this thing, because you don't have a lot of real estate in your hands. It's nice to have a nice little solid grip on it, and I think the jimping is very well placed. This is made in Maniago, Italy. As far as I know, guys, this is the first Spyderco knife to be made in that particular locale. I could be wrong. It's definitely the first one I've ever seen, definitely the first one I own to come from Italy. The Spyderco line is usually made, and manufactured at least, either in Taiwan or in Seki City, Japan, or in Golden, Colorado, USA, Earth, as they're famous for putting on their blades. The deployment on this, very smooth. Like I said earlier, you've got the nice 1/2 inch spider hole, and it just kind of glides open with authority. I know it's kind of strange to hear me say that, it glides open with authority when it doesn't really have a locking mechanism, but it just kind of has this nice authoritative pop when you flip it open that just really works. I mean, this is a really solid, well-built knife. It's very well thought out, very well constructed. You got really good blade steel on this. Even considering it's a very small knife, it really does feel great in your hand. A couple quick points of reference that I just want to make here, guys, as far as where I think this knife sits in the Spyderco lineup. I think it's kind of a happy medium between the Spyderco UK PK and the Spyderco Chicago. We got the Squeak up top here. The reason I say that is it is part of the Slip It line, so that you immediately think, first and foremost, the Spyderco UK PK or the Spyderco Urban. I reviewed this one previously and just love it and still love it to this day. It's probably one of my all-time favorite Spyderco knives as far as basic EDC is concerned. The Spyderco Chicago, this is the newer G10 version. I have reviewed the carbon fiber version of this. The reason I bring this one up is the comparison in size on these. I mean, if you look at this, it's virtually identical. The Chicago itself is just a little bit thicker since it is a flow-through design, but I mean, they both got the spider wire clip. They both feature very similar blade sizes and shapes. I mean, look at that. It's almost an exact match. So I think this is kind of an example of if you took a Spyderco Chicago and a Spyderco UK PK, you had them mate, their offspring would probably be the Spyderco Squeak, and that's definitely not a bad thing. So I think it incorporates kind of the best of both of these two knives, the best qualities of both, into one compact little package. Okay, we'll do a couple quick size comparisons here. Put Mr. Spyderco Squeak at the top there. And below it, we'll put the big brother, the UK PK. There's the Chicago, just about the same as the Squeak. And we'll throw in the Kershaw Scallion. And just for kicks, the Spyderco Ladybug. Still smaller than the Squeak. Alright, we'll do the quick pocket carry here. You can see it slides right in, that nice smooth stainless steel spider wire clip. To date, still my favorite pocket clip. Just rides super deep, super low, super comfortable, and it's just in and out of your pocket. Super quick, super easy. Still one of my favorites. I will say this knife is so tiny and so light of weight, I honestly forget that it's in my pocket half the time, which to me is not a bad thing. That's kind of good when an EDC item that you're carrying is so diminutive that you honestly forget that it's there, so you're not weighed down by it or you feel uncomfortable, have to shift your weight or whatnot. You know, it's just a small, tiny little package that just gets in your pocket and it disappears. So excellent job, Spyderco. Alright, let's do a cutting demonstration here. This is working with the factory edge. I have not sharpened this, and this has seen definitely a lot of EDC use here. So we'll see how we do. A little bit careful. Probably a couple little small points on the blade that need to be touched up. Again, I have not sharpened this, but considering it's gotten over a month of use, that's a pretty good job, Spyderco. That's definitely comparable to VG10 as far as the edge retention is concerned, so excellent job. Bottom line, I think the Spyderco Squeak is an absolutely outstanding effort on the job of Spyderco for 2011. Right around the $40 to $45 shipped price point, you're getting Spyderco's new N690 CO blade steel, which is more or less the Austrian equivalent of VG10. You're getting a full flat ground blade, which I think Spyderco does better than anybody, and you're getting the spider wire tip-up pocket clip, which is still to date my favorite way to carry a knife. Guys, this is Spyderco doing what they do best, taking a little big knife, adding the slip it opening system, which I think is one of the best innovations in knives in probably the last 5 or 6 years. They didn't really reinvent the wheel on that one, they just made a more kick-ass wheel. Our fathers and grandfathers have been using case knives and hen and rooster knives their entire lives. You know, the slip joint blade system is not anything new, but the way Spyderco does it, it just works. They have taken the slip joint system and made it matter in the year 2011. Spyderco, excellent job on this one. I can absolutely give this one my recommendation. If you're looking for a small, you know, just really, really tiny form factor, office-friendly knife, guys, this is Spyderco's best effort, period. I want to thank everyone so much for taking the time to watch this review. I hope you have found it informative and entertaining. For all the best knives, gear, flashlights, you name it, go ahead and check out www.whitemountainknives.com. Enter discount code MJF to get 10% off your order, and it is free shipping inside the United States. Guys, thanks again for watching, and as always, stay fit, stay strong, stay supreme. Take care, and I'll see you next time.